Welcome to Black Rock Inspired. In today's video, we're taking a deep dive into the darker side of humanity, where the boundaries of cruelty are pushed to their limits. From tales of murder to chilling accounts of torture and the haunting specter of forced labor, we're about to uncover the stories of the most sinister figures to ever walk the earth. So, fasten your seatbelts, because we're embarking on a journey to explore the depths of human malevolence. Number 5. Osama bin Laden, the man who thought founding Al-Qaeda and masterminding 9/11 was a good career move. He really knew how to make an entrance onto the international terrorism scene. His pièce de résistance, the 9/11 terrorist attacks, was a real showstopper. Picture this: 19 Al-Qaeda operatives hijacking commercial airliners, and what do? Suicide attacks. They aimed for the World Trade Center in New York City, and nearly 3,000 people died that day. But the 9/11 gig wasn't his only hit. Under his baton, Al-Qaeda put on a global tour of terrorism, featuring bombings, assassinations, and even kidnappings. Their mission? To challenge the corrupting influence of the West, with a special focus on the United States. Curtain call. Osama bin Laden had quite a career, but all good, or rather bad, things must come to an end. In 2011, the U.S. Navy SEALs decided to give him the grand finale he deserved. They tracked him down and gave him his final bow in Abbottabad, Pakistan. It was the perfect climax to the global war on terror concert.
And to the world. The United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda.
Number 4. Idi Amin, the man who decided that ruling Uganda required an iron fist and a complete disregard for human rights. He strutted onto the stage in 1971 with a military coup, effectively replacing President Milton Obote and ushering in what could be described as the dark and stormy era of Ugandan history. Now, if you thought he was just into casual cruelty, think again. Amin took things to a whole new level. He had a knack for making his political opponents disappear, often in the most permanent way possible. Intellectuals, military brass, and civil servants, be warned, you were all on the menu. The end result? An estimated 100,000 to 500,000 souls snuffed out like birthday candles. But wait, there's more. His regime was also famous for its wide array of human rights abuses. Torture? Check. Disappearances? Check. Paramilitary forces to maintain his regime's grip on power? Check, but legal safeguards? Nah. Who needs those? Expression of opinions? In Amin's world, that was a luxury few could afford. Fortunately, the Amin show came to an end in 1979 when a coalition of Tanzanian forces and Ugandan exiles decided they'd had enough of his antics. They gave him the boot, and he spent the rest of his days in Saudi Arabia. Number 3. Vlad the Impaler, also known as Vlad III or Vlad Dracula, was a real menace in 15th century Wallachia, which is now part of Romania. This guy had a reputation for extreme cruelty that would make even your average villain blush. You see, Vlad's idea of successful leadership was to create what we might call a reign of terror. He was ruthless in dealing with anyone who crossed him, whether they were his own subjects or pesky outsiders. His favorite party trick? Impalement. Yes, you heard that right. He'd skewer people on wooden stakes and let them have a jolly good time slowly dying. Impalement was his go-to punishment for everything, from political treason to what we might today consider minor offenses like forgetting to do the dishes. Vlad was also particularly keen on playing defense, especially when it came to the big kids on the block, the Ottoman Empire. He fought off the Ottomans several times and managed to keep Wallachia safe and utterly terrified from invasion. His secret weapon? Well, besides impalement, he was quite fond of using gruesome tactics to intimidate the Ottoman forces. I mean, who wouldn't be deterred by the sight of lanced bodies, right? Now, you'd think a guy with a penchant for skewering people on sticks would be universally reviled. But no, not Vlad. Some folks in Romania actually see him as a national hero for his resistance against the Ottomans. His association with the Dracula legend comes from his love of impalement, a delightful touch that inspired Bram Stoker's creation of Count Dracula in his 1897 novel. But let's be clear, the fictional Count Dracula and the historical Vlad are like night and day, or should I say, day and night. The real Vlad may have been a ruler with a flair for the dramatic, but the blood-sucking vampire legend took on a life of its own. Number 2. Pol Pot, the grand visionary of the Khmer Rouge regime in Cambodia, had quite an ambitious project in mind. He dreamt of turning Cambodia into an agricultural utopia, a place where class distinctions would be as rare as a unicorn sighting. But as they say, the path to utopia is often paved with the skulls of those who disagree. His pièce de résistance, the Cambodian genocide, was a masterpiece of its own. Under Pol Pot's divine guidance, his regime got creative with radical policies to eliminate any pesky enemies who didn't quite share his artistic vision. This resulted in a breathtaking mosaic of death that claimed the lives of around 2 million people, leaving a significant void in the guest list of Cambodia's population party. Then there were his forced labor camps, charming getaways where the privileged few got to experience extreme deprivation and a taste of brutal living conditions. The Khmer Rouge's methodical torture sessions, mass executions, and whimsical disregard for human rights were all part of the package. Intellectuals, artists, and anyone with a personality slightly more interesting than a brick wall were welcomed with open arms, right up to their execution. As if that weren't enough, Pol Pot threw in some isolation and secrecy for good measure. Cambodia, under his guidance, decided to embrace the ultimate hipster trend by cutting ties with foreign nations and cocooning itself in an impenetrable cloak of darkness. Naturally, this made it super hard for the international community to see what a great time everyone was having in Cambodia. In the end, Pol Pot's artistic endeavors left Cambodia with a chilling masterpiece of brutality and suffering that continues to captivate the nation's memory to this day. Number 1. Adolf Hitler was the man who took evil to a whole new level. Born in Austria, he embarked on a career in politics. As the head honcho of the Nazi Party, he went all the way and crowned himself Führer, a dictator's dream title. Let's dive into his greatest hits. First up, we have The Holocaust, his little art project involving the systematic extermination, where he gathered millions of Jews, Romani people, the disabled, and political dissidents into a sinister canvas called concentration camps. 6 million lives were tragically brushed aside, making it the masterpiece of mass murder. And then there's World War II, the ultimate result of his territorial ambitions and power trips. Because apparently, invading your neighbors is the new black in diplomacy. You could also say he was the party crasher of the century. The result? Tens of millions of casualties and a whole lot of real estate damage. War crimes. Hitler's leadership was marked by numerous war crimes and atrocities, including the mistreatment and murder of prisoners of war, the deliberate targeting of civilian populations in bombing campaigns, and the use of slave labor in concentration camps and factories. Totalitarian rule. Hitler's rule in Germany was marked by a totalitarian regime that suppressed dissent, controlled media like it was a puppet show, and added a sprinkle of censorship for that extra zing. His ideology? A dash of extreme nationalism, a pinch of anti-Semitism, and a generous dollop of Aryan racial superiority. Like, comment, and subscribe for more.